Hello, everybody, and welcome to GamerVision, the show where we talk about all things gaming, no matter what it is. And how are you doing, Tony?
I am doing wonderful.
So, it's hard to believe, but we are on episode 9,
We are.
and one thing that kind of dawned on us about like roughly a week ago is that we never really like introduced just who we are or where we came from.
hmm
We had a little snippet in the first episode, but then we were just like, topics. So I think we both decided that maybe this would be a good episode. Episode 9. It's a great spot to let people know who we are.
Yeah.
Just some of the games we like, the characters we like.
Yeah, we've sort of
Uh,
known each other for a few years at this point, but some of the people who are
you know,
watching probably have no idea who we are.
they're just like, who? Why did this guy loves Drill Dozer. This guy loves Final Fantasy. Like they're just doing this show. Like where'd they come from? Um, but you know, I think now is as good as any to kind of dive in and give people some ideas of just, who we are, what we're doing, um, and why we feel people should listen to our thoughts and opinions on this multi-billion dollar industry that is video games.
I've been doing this for a
We've
long time and wonder why anyone would listen to the words that come out of my mouth, but I'm flattered when people say they do and they've been listening for a long time.
I mean, it's nice. It's just one of those things. I think one thing that drives me. I mean, I was kind of out of it for a few years, and then started like feverishly trying to figure out how to get back into it because I was like, oh man, I miss it. I miss it. I miss like doing videos and meeting with people, and then COVID happened. And
Yeah.
but before we get into all of that, uh, we've got a couple questions that we wanted to kind of dive into. I think I'll let you go first. I think there might be a cameo of something that we've talked about in a couple episodes from you.
I can
I'm
guarantee
not.
the words, well, if I say it right now, they'll come out of my mouth. But I was going to say the words drill dozer won't come out of my mouth today.
Well, I mean that's. I mean, I think with this first question, people might be able to decipher just what your favorite game might be, but for those who haven't watched any of the previous episodes, or they don't know you, what would you say is your favorite game of all the times?
Favorite, just straight up favorite game of all time. Um,
Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion, the first one for the
All right. All
GameCube.
right.
That was a launch game for that system. Um, the the biggest reason that I like that game so much is that there's a lot of nostalgia and family wrapped up into that game. Um, because I was actually playing that game the day my second child was born. I wasn't like at the hospital playing Luigi's Mansion while my daughter was over there being born or anything, but earlier in the day, my wife and
You just
I
brought everything to the hospital. You
my
just like the
wife and I would
TV, the
exactly. We would spend the evenings. I would be playing Luigi's Mansion. Our bed, our table, and TV was right next to our bed. We lived in the house we lived in, and we'd curl up in the evenings, and I'd be playing Luigi's Mansion. And then later that night, we had to go to the hospital because the child was being born. And then every year since then, around Halloween time, that is my everybody gathers in the living room and I play through Luigi's Mansion for Halloween every year.
like Luigi's Mansion kind of it just when you think of like the Mario platformers, you don't really think of like a kind of a ghost hunting type of like game, and I think it fits sorry, Luigi
Yeah,
more than Mario.
yeah. It was
Uh,
it was a very different type of game from anything you'd played before with those characters.
but so outside of like favorite game, do you have like a favorite series, like something that is just kind of a comfort series that you go back to?
Very different style of game from Luigi's Mansion though. Favorite series of all time. I kind of go back and forth, but I'd say probably more than anything the Dragon Quest series. Would be my favorite franchise, series of all time. That is the game that got me into RPGs. I lived in Cincinnati when the first game came out, and I can remember going to a friend's house. He had a big setup down in the basement where they had all their video game stuff, and he was playing Dragon Quest one day when I got there, and just I had never seen a game that was telling you a story like that and letting you be the character and just wander and explore a world like that. I hadn't played Zelda yet at the time. Mario was really the only Nintendo series that I had played. Um, so I fell in love with that game, and I got a copy of it for myself and have played nearly every game, both mainline and spin-off stuff. So like the Tornico Mystery Dungeon games, the Rocket Slime games, the Pokemon, not Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Um, uh,
Dragon Quest Pokemon. I mean, I
the
think the Joker
yeah, the
was
Dragon
it.
Quest Monsters series.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was their version of Pokemon, essentially. I've
Well,
played everything in that, and I have stuff for that franchise just laying around. I absolutely love the Dragon Quest series.
and that's for me kind of an honorable mention as far as like favorite favorite game. Like Dragon Warrior was that title
Hmm.
from the original Nintendo that I don't know if it was necessarily the first game that I played, but it was that the first game where I was like, oh wow, this is much more like engaging.
Yeah.
Like I remember having to actually like think about what I'm doing, and I think that game is what really put me on the path of like enjoying games
Yeah.
and my favorite genre, which we'll get to later on. But essentially, like my favorite game, kind of in that same era with like the GameCube and the PS2 and the original Xbox was Final Fantasy X. Um, Super diverse characters.
Hmm.
A lot of people will say that, oh, well, as far as like Final Fantasy games go, your favorite Final Fantasy is usually the first one you play or like the second one you play, and that's not the case for me. Like Final Fantasy X, the characters for Final Fantasy X, the story, the world, the gameplay, it was just so nice, very very diverse. I liked the journey of you know I still call him Titus. That's how it
Canonically,
just
it's Tidus, though.
yeah, like when I first heard that I was like that doesn't I just can't bring
Yeah.
myself to say it because I think it just maybe it's because I've just for so long I've said Titus and it just doesn't sound right. But just that whole thing, the journey of I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to help these people along, and like I want to do the right thing, the good thing, and then the story flips itself on its head,
Hmm.
later on, and then he's grasping with like, oh, what I wish I known, and I think a lot of people kind of can somewhat relate to a
Hmm.
similar thing, like you're trying to help people, um, but Final Fantasy X definitely is like my all-time favorite. Um, a very
It's a
very
good
close
choice.
a very close second is The Legend of Dragoon. Again, very diverse characters and world, and the addition system for the combat was nice. You actually had to be engaged in the combat. But outside of like the games, obviously the games in the series have created a connection for me as far as like characters.
Hmm.
Like I said earlier, like Titus or Titus is still sounds weird even
You
when
know,
I'm
Final Fantasy has a problem with that specific type of thing, because my favorite Final Fantasy game also has a character that I mispronounced the name for years, and that's
huh?
Final
Well,
Fantasy IV. I always called the main character Cecil,
yeah, yeah,
because when you first play the game, you didn't get to hear those names, and then a
yeah,
few years later, it came out to I think PSP, and they put some full motion video stuff in there, some voice acting,
yeah.
and then like the 3DS had the voice acting, and they called him Cecil, and I was like, wait a second,
Yeah.
I've been pronouncing
Yeah,
this name wrong for years.
Titus, whatever. He's probably my favorite character. Just again with the whole thing of like he's just trying to do the best that he can. He's he's not the most intelligent character. He's not the strongest character. He's not he's not necessarily the best in any of the
Hmm.
categories. Um, but just like he's trying to be this like strong backbone character, um, but I have a feeling I kind of know where you're gonna go with your favorite character, just based on your favorite game. But if you had to name a favorite character, what would you like? Who's your favorite character to play as?
Jill from Drill Does. No, I'm kidding. Uh,
Surprises.
there's a twist. No, it's Luigi. Luigi has been my favorite character for years and years. He,
Is it the green?
well, he part of it comes from the fact that I am a younger brother, and growing up playing the NES, I always played as Luigi because my brother would get to be Mario because he was 10 years older than me and would all could beat me up if I wanted to get the first controller. But no, then they gave him his own sort of personality and spun him away from Mario, and I love that sort of cowardly hero that he is. Like he knows what he needs to do, but he's terrified every step of the
Yeah.
way. And I imagine a lot of people would be that same way if they were put in situations where they had to be the hero of their story. Um,
He's got a mean death glare though. Like
that he does.
he's
Don't put it. The one place where he is not scared is behind the wheel of a race car.
yeah.
That's where you really get to see Luigi just come into his own and be his own, monster character.
I remember that year of Luigi and that meme that went around, just that just man, if
Yeah,
he was glaring at you, your time on the track
it
was
was
done.
done. That
Like
was it.
uh any like close seconds or anybody that
Um,
is almost outside of anything drill dozer related. Any other characters that
there's no
that are
other
close?
character that just like jumps out. I mean, there's other characters that I really like Joel from The Last of Us. I really like. Um, who else?
Such a man, such a such a good character and just good development within that first game
Yeah,
and into the second, which I haven't played the
I
second, so
haven't
I'm
played the
not.
second one. I don't know that I'm going to play the second one. There's been a lot of stuff that with just like the ultra violence in that game just turns me off a little bit. Where they didn't go
Yeah,
quite as far down that road in the first game, but the first game has that cutscene that just I had to put the controller down after it. I'm a dad, so um,
oh, they portrayed that scene so
that
well,
was
like that.
such a good scene.
Yeah, like gonna be one of those games where just it's gonna it's gonna hit hard.
Yeah, yeah,
um
and it does everything about that game. Just hits you
yeah.
and just keeps hitting you over and over.
But as far as like the games and the characters, like my favorite genre uh throughout all of it, everything that's out there, RPGs, like the role playing game genre, which has bled its way into almost every genre at this
Yeah,
point. So it's like it's tough to really define like what is an
yeah.
RPG
Everything
now.
has RPG elements to it now.
Role playing games, hands down, is my favorite genre. It's what really like hooked me on gaming.
Yeah. Me
With
as well. I mean,
back.
there's no doubt about it. Role playing games have been the things that I've gravitated to towards the most. As a younger kid, it was because you could get so much out of them
Yeah,
because they're 100
yeah,
hours long. I have this love hate relationship with role playing games now because I'm
yeah,
41 years
yeah.
old and I don't have 50 hours a week now that I can dedicate to games, and so it's really hard. I have to find that RPG that I just want to dive into.
It is tough because like they're the Persona games. I would love to dive into more of the
Hmm.
Persona games. I would love to spend more time with that, but it's like, do I do I really want to invest that much
Yeah,
time into one game? And like it seems good. I feel like I'm gonna like it, but people say, well, 10 hours in, 20 hours in, like it really starts to get there, and it's like, what?
yeah. That 10 to
There you
20
go.
hour mark is about the extent of time I can put into a lot of games. So
Yeah.
I can't get started 20 hours into the game. I need to be wrapping it up and getting to credits at 20 hours.